Hello everybody and welcome back for another episode of Indie Impressions. My name is Nick and today we're going to be checking out something called Arzach. This is a third-person exploration game set in a very strange, surreal desert world. We seem to be playing as this lady here with a neon pink skirt and an umbrella, as well as some very fluorescent eyewear and hair choices. So let's start wandering around and let's see what we can discover in this bizarre world. I know very little about this, to be perfectly honest, and I couldn't even really look up much information about it. So honestly, I'm going into this quite blind. I have only played about maybe 2 minutes or so of this, so I don't really know what kind of experiences might lie in wait for us out into the desert here, but I do know that this was apparently inspired by, or is designed to sort of make you feel some of the same feelings as this comic called Mobius, which upon doing a very little bit of Googling, I found out I'm quite inspired by and will most likely be looking into in a very detailed way. So, the one thing you can do in this is, aside from walking with WASD, you can either use spacebar or left click, or rather right click, to switch to a first-person mode where you literally see outside of the face of our character here, and everything seems to get this sort of cartoonized looking edge to it. Everything gets a bold line facet, which is kind of interesting. It does let you see details in a little bit of a different way that you might not have been able to notice a second ago. We're just going to keep wandering up here. I think you can see the character a little bit more detailed when it forces the camera close to us. Not that it's necessary really to see, but she's got some strange features going on with the face area. There's like an orange and a pink triangle in her cheek region, as well as eyebrows that seem to be very hard to make out. I don't know, I can't really make much out of this character, but what we can see, though, is some very odd things happening up on the hills of this desert. I think what we're going for here is something very mysterious and evocative of just strange in general, surreal in general, which is all stuff I love, and as well as the soundtrack is fantastic and made me just sit here and sing along to it for a very long time as I was just getting levels and messing around with things. In fact, I was just standing in one place talking to myself for a while. So it looks like there's a giant of some sort up on top of that arch there, as well as maybe a graveyard or some sort of, grouping of carved wood statuettes or something. Let's take a closer look at whatever this might be. We'll switch over to first-person mode. Yeah, it makes the background strobe out too, which is pretty wild looking, and everything seems to go into sort of a rainbow mode. Well, at least it seems to be quite orange right now. I've seen it switch colors. Yeah, it seems to just pick a color depending on whatever it's at when you click. That's very disjointed when you keep switching back and forth between the two, so I'll try not to do that too much. So what are these? I'm trying to get a better look here. I'm not sure if they're supposed to be like floating crystal obelisks or some sort of carved stumps. Not really getting a good sense of texture from them, but either way, I'm kind of curious about them. And then in the center, we've got some sort of figure, which I can't really see all of. The camera only lets you go up so far, so I'm kind of back away here to see if I can get a better look. Maybe it's just one of those same monoliths sort of deconstructed, or maybe I'm not looking at it from the right angle. Or maybe there's a reason for me to use first-person mode. Maybe that gives me some kind of insight that I wouldn't normally be able to get. Oh man, that giant is doing some strange things up there. It's giving me a little bit of a Dark Souls vibe, being able to see it lumbering around up there out of our reach. Maybe from this angle, is this the way we can see better? I can get a better look if I look up and down with first-person, but it doesn't give me a lot of room to look out of my glasses. Yeah, I totally can't make out what that's a statue of. I just see slight bits of the same sort of textural components that are in some of the surrounding obelisks, so I guess I'm going to assume it's one of those in some way. Alright, so that's going to do it then for these. Let's walk over to this pink crystal area here too and see if there's something going on with this stuff. I don't know if there's much of any interactivity in this game, unfortunately. It seems to be very much sort of a wander, explore, and discover type of thing, which I have no problem with, as I'm sure you probably know by now. Appears to be a doorway in the base of that structure there. Since we can get that sort of highlight thing when we go into first person, does help us with seeing what might be designed for human interface in one way or another. So one of the things about having this ability to see off into the distance this far, there's very few ways to interact with the environment, so anything that looks like it's designed for, the size or shape or scale with which we can interact with, it kind of becomes very apparent that those things are put there for us, which is a little bit of readability that I think is interesting, that we can sort of take little bits and nuggets of information out of things just by looking at them from a distance, only because there's so little in the way of stuff we can touch or deal with. Alright, so this is just kind of a strange space. Doesn't seem to be much going on in here. I would have liked it if maybe some of this lighting could have transfigured through the wall. Oh, I guess I can just walk through the wall, too. I guess clipping's not really a thing with this. No biggie. Let's see what's over here. Is this got more of these crystalline figures inside of the outer shell. Oh, okay, this one I can't really walk through that well, actually. So I gotta go through there. I was gonna say, mostly the camera's been fine, but I just realized, like, I've mostly been outside with no, spots that would really get it stuck, so I guess that's what that is all about. I can't really move the camera independently other than just, you know, sliding the mouse back and forth, so I don't have, like, a dual sticks type of setup. Maybe I could put the camera in a better spot and then walk independent of that. What about this one over here? No, it doesn't look like anything particularly interesting going on, just more rock setup. These seem to be sort of like little guide markers for some reason. I wonder if they're taking me somewhere if I follow them. This looks like quite a vast desert. It's reminding me a little bit of that bizarre Neon's like roller skating game, Zenith, that I played a long time ago, where, you know, you'd grind off of all the walls and things, and, well, it was a lot more gamey, obviously. This is definitely more of a surreal exploration experience, which I have no problems with. Just gotta know ahead of time what you're getting yourself into, because I understand probably not everybody's into stuff like this. Let's see what this is all about. I see a little fleck of color off in the distance. Can I get a... It's actually harder to see from first person. So you go into sort of monochrome mode, you can't really make out what's going on as well. What are you? A little fleck of pink and blue. You're reminding me a little bit of me as I get closer. What is this? The scale is so bizarre. Oh! You're a little Katamari type prince rolling around a ball. Well, that's interesting. It was stuck in place until I got closer. Should I follow you, or are you gonna take me anywhere, or are you just kinda doing your own thing? Probably doing his own thing, I don't know. Let's see if we can go up these steps. I'd like to go hang out with this giant if possible. And maybe if we're up there, we could get a better look at maybe how big this whole area is, because I would like to know that, since there's no map or any kind of thing like that. It's a very difficult thing to critique, as I'm sure you can probably imagine, because this is entirely the absolute realm of subjectivity. Any kind of, you know, critique I could really levy against this is more just my own personal preference, and there's almost nothing here that I feel like I could make an objective call on one way or the other. It's just kind of, you know, I prefer this, I don't prefer that. Alright, seems like these stairs are a little bit odd, so let's try and not clip through them too awkwardly. Looks like every step I've got to make... Oh, okay. So it's going to be like that. I had a feeling as I saw my legs clipping mostly entirely through the steps, that it was going to be rather tricky. Is it better to just walk full force through the steps, or does that lead me to doom? Staying close to the inner area of the spire, and that seems to be working out mostly pretty well. The only gamey challenge so far has been don't fall through the steps, I guess. Oh, see, this step doesn't like me very much. It won't... No. Go up. It won't register. Thought maybe resetting it with first person might help. Turn. Go, 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 go. Oh, no. How am I supposed to hang out with the giant like this? I want to go up there. Really felt like there was almost nothing I could do. Maybe if I, like, walk into it backward or something. I mean, this is a thing I guess I could say I'd prefer if it wasn't that way. But I think that's fairly self-evident. Oh, was that the step? I forget how far up it was. It almost seems like you've got to carry a little momentum from the previous one to be able to get up some of the next ones. Come on, now. Alright, let's turn around and try and... I can't really strafe, so actually, my idea doesn't really work. Darn. Well, that's too bad. I'd like to get up there. Maybe that's the challenge. I could pause it for you guys if you want to go wander around a little bit and see if you can figure your way up those steps. Because I wanted to take a look and see how far this all goes. Well, I'm tempted to just wander off into the desert, but there's also a good chance that I would spoil something very interesting if I do. So maybe I should just keep this very short and let you guys do your own wandering and report back in the comments if you find anything particularly cool that's worth looking at. I would be totally into going back and looking at this in my own time and seeing if I could discover something else interesting. I tried not to play too much of this before I got started on the recordings. I know that's been a thing. Well, one video recently, people were upset that I spent too much time wandering around prior. Sometimes it's tough to say before I start a recording whether or not I'll find something interesting until I play it for a few moments. Especially with simulation-type games, there's not a lot of tells often whether or not something is going to be cool or, you know, how it's going to all pan out. And sometimes it's just some very minute details that make something interesting to me, so... Well, in this case, what we do have is some interesting visuals, a great soundtrack, and what seems to be a pretty vast desert to explore. Unfortunately, some issues with clipping might hamper the experience a little bit, but like I said, feel free to see if you can find a way around it. Maybe this is still in the works, and maybe that's a known issue that's going to get worked on in the future. I'm not sure, but if the developer does happen to see this, you know, I'd totally be fine with going back and trying this again in the future. So that's going to do it then. That was Arzach. Link for this is going to be right in the description. You can play it right in your browser. No need to download anything. It's not even a very long load if you have decent internet, so let me know what you think. Like I said, if you don't mind, leave a like on the video as well. It does help out the series a whole bunch. And I will see you back for another one. New episodes of Indie Impressions go up every single day, so look forward to bringing you more in the future. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you have a fantastic night. Talk to you all later.